Guys, I may not be able to do this, so I may have to go out there and talk to you so I can feel a little bit closer. But we'll start out back here. Can everybody hear me okay? So first off, I guess thanks for letting me come in and take up part of your afternoon here. I was excited at the chance to come in and talk to this group because I really feel like small business and entrepreneurship is really important, but there's also a lot of development that comes with it. And so I'm excited that there's a class like this available. I don't know if this was available when I went to college here, so thanks for the opportunity to come and talk to you. My name is Brian Blakely. I am the owner of an insurance agency here in Kearney, Stonebridge Insurance. And when I say that, I'm not the sole owner. There's partners here in Kearney that were owners of that agency. But I'm originally from Dunning, Nebraska. Does anybody have any idea where that's at? No? That's okay. I'm not surprised. A town of about 110 people, so it's pretty small. But came here to UNK and graduated with a degree in journalism and a minor in sports administration. And I'm working in insurance. So there's that. So after college, I went to Omaha. There's a golf tournament there in Omaha. I'm not even sure who it's sponsored by anymore, but it's the Omaha Classic, and it's kind of a minor, guys that compete and win money there can go on to the PGA Tour. And so I did an internship there, and afterwards, to be honest, kind of had a hard time finding a job after college. So sent out a bunch of resumes, and I ended up getting a job selling advertising in a small newspaper. Does anybody know where Broken Bow's at? Yeah? Okay, got a few there. So the Custer County Chief. I did advertising sales for the chief. Was there about 6 months and moved to Grand Island and worked for the Grand Island Independent doing advertising sales for the newspaper. I was there for about a year and then moved on to the Omaha World Herald. Got a job doing advertising sales there for the World Herald. So I was there for about a year and a half, and the job was okay, the people were great, but I just knew that I wanted more. I wanted something different. I wanted, I didn't know what it was, I just wanted something different. So my wife and I, my oldest daughter at the time was about 4 months old. We decided we were going to move back, and I always kind of knew that I wanted to come back to Kearney. So we moved back here, took a job with a financial firm, was going to be a financial advisor here in town, started taking the test for that. We got moved, and as I was studying, the gentleman that hired me called me and said, hey, let's get together for coffee. I didn't think this sounded good, and I was right. He said, well, I actually just got laid off, but why don't you go up to this other financial firm and see if you could get hired up there. So I went up there and talked to them. The guy that owns the place says, I don't have the room or the budget to bring anybody else on. I had paid roughly around $600 for tests to get a Series 6 license and life and health license, and had a 4-month-old baby at home. My wife was working, she's a nurse, she was working in Grand Island at the time, and I kind of left there wondering what I was going to do next. I had no idea. So I sent out resumes, pretty discouraging time, but was able to, there was a job that came up to work in an insurance agency here in town. I did not want to send in that resume, but I was really just kind of searching for anything that I could. I needed to bring money home, we needed to put food on the table, and it just needed to be done. So sent in the resume, got called for an interview, went and did the first one, got called back for a second, and ended up getting the job at a state farm agency here in town. What turned out to be something I didn't really want to do was really the best thing that could have happened to me. I worked for that agency for about 5 years. It was there was 3 of us in the office, small business. The agent I worked for was amazing, taught me a ton, and so the agent that I worked for was great, and I kind of gained a new perspective about the insurance industry. Before, I hated insurance. I didn't understand it. I thought it cost a lot of money, it was complicated, and I didn't know really what you would ever do for it or do with it. But when I was in that agency, it kind of changed my perspective on what the industry could be. And while I was there, so when I was there, I thought, you know what? I think maybe the insurance industry's got a bad rap. And I think that there's a lot of good people that work in this industry, and there's really a way where you can help people and make it so that their experience isn't that bad. The three of us in this agency, I think at one point, we were in the top 10 of all State Farm agents across the country, which I think at the time there was about 17,000 State Farm agents. And so we worked really well. Together. And after being there for 5 years with one company, one insurance company, I had really kind of reached the peak of what I was going to learn and what I could do both financially. There just wasn't a lot of opportunity to do other things I wanted to do. And so I made the decision to go out on my own with another captive insurance agency. And I'll kind of explain the difference between captive and independent agents here in a second. But essentially, captive agency, I'm working with one company, but I'm going out on my own. And I'm starting scratch. So as a scratch insurance agent, you turn the door on day one, open it up. There's no insurance policies on the books. There's no income coming in. There's really nothing. And you have to go out and kill it and drag it home and make your own way. So I had done training for this for 5 weeks, 4 weeks in Denver and 1 week in Chicago, and then just a couple weeks getting the office ready, got started. So by this time, we had a 6-year-old, 5-year-old actually, and a 2-year-old at home, and I'm starting an independent insurance agency with no income coming in. So it was a little bit stressful, to say the least. And about 10 months into that venture, I realized that it wasn't going to work. There are certain numbers that you have to hit as an insurance agent, what was called validation. I validated my first 6 months, and I realized that I had about 2 months left and it just wasn't going to happen. The numbers were not going to be there that I needed, and so I had to make a really tough decision on what I was going to do next. Thought about going back and working for the agent I worked for before. I thought about taking a new job completely, but ultimately what I decided to do was open up as an independent insurance agent. And so the reason I did that is because I thought, well, as an independent agent, I work with a lot of different insurance companies, not just one, and there's more opportunities to help people out. So closed the door one day as a prior agent with the company I was at before, and open up the next day, starting all over from scratch again as an independent agent. And that was February 1st of 2012 that happened, and it's been the best decision that I've made in a long time, but ever really. But there was a lot of sleepless nights leading up to that point. I had to invest a little over $12,000 to join the group that I did, to be part of this, to be an independent agent. This group is designed to help you get contracts faster with insurance companies and things like that. I'm not going to bore you with the specifics there, but companies aren't necessarily going to give a contract right business with a brand new insurance agent that they don't know if he's going to be in there or not in there or what he's going to be doing. So anyway, it was a big investment for me, and I had to make it work. And I can say, you know, over 8 years later, it's been a great decision for me, and one that there's been a lot of mistakes made along the way, both financially and otherwise, but there's a lot of freedom with it too. So here we are today. That's kind of my journey. I started out on my own as an independent agent. I ended up joining kind of the Stonebridge team, guys that I'd known personally before that, and we were sending referrals back and forth, and it just makes sense with the industry that we're in to have everybody in-house, where it's just a matter of inviting people in, and we can develop those relationships. So professionally, that's kind of my story. You know, one of the reasons I'm in here today, and the reason that Lisa asked me to come by, was because of the podcast. She said that maybe some of you have listened to it. That's really a way where I wanted to do something like that before, and finally got the push. There's an insurance agent in Alabama that does a ton of social media stuff, and I kind of been working with him. He said, you know, you need to just do it. It's kind of like starting a small business. You just have to do it. So I did, and it's been really an amazing experience. I think that the reason that I wanted to do it was because starting a small business as an entrepreneur is really lonely, can be really lonely. Even if you start with a group of people, it can still be a really lonely process. And you kind of get in your head a little bit and think that you are the only one that have ever been afraid about how the bills are going to get paid. You're the only one that's ever thought about what happens if I have to close this down. And I think it's good for people to realize that you're not the only one. And so I guess as you guys listen to the podcast and episodes going forward, kind of the heart behind the whole thing is to give people a little bit of community, to let them know that they're not alone and that there's a lot of people that have gone through the same thing they're going through. And it really doesn't matter what industry it is, if it's insurance agency or a restaurant or a retail store. The challenges are different, but yet a lot of it is the same. So as far as the podcast there, that's kind of what the heart is behind there.
Talk a little bit about BNI.
Yeah, so one of the things that has been instrumental in my business and helping me from getting started to where I'm at now is a networking group that I'm in. It's called BNI, Business Networkers International, and you can go online and look it up. There's actually 2 chapters here in Kearney, but there's literally chapters all over the world. And the purpose of these groups is to pass referrals back and forth through different industries. So in my group, we have, I think right now we have 21 members. I'm the only auto and home insurance agent in that group. And so I can sit in there knowing that no one else from my industry is going to be coming in, but we have a plumber, we have a realtor, electrician, we have a bookkeeper, I mean all sorts of industries. There's a dentist in there. And so we meet every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Here in town, and we get a chance to talk about our business. Every week we get a chance to talk about our business for a minute. 2 or 3 times a year we get a chance to give a 10-minute presentation. And then at the end of the meeting we are talking about referrals that we're passing back and forth. And so, you know, this is kind of a question I wanted to ask you guys too, but networking, even starting now, is vital for whatever you're going to do in the future. Does anybody in here have a LinkedIn account? Anybody? Yeah? If you don't have one, go on to LinkedIn and sign up for one, even though you don't have a job. LinkedIn is basically kind of a Facebook page for professionals. It's not, you're not posting about your weekend, you're not posting about what you're having for supper. It's strictly business related, and all sorts of industries are on there, but you're going to want to get set up with a LinkedIn account. That's going to be something that you'll want to do now, and you can start networking now. You can find people here on campus, people that are in industries that you're interested in. Look me up, you know, request to connect with me. I'd be happy to give any advice you guys, or you know, if you have questions about whatever. But start with a LinkedIn account, get that set up now, even while you're in school, and you can start that part of online networking. And then, you know, the different groups that are available here on campus or in town, any way that you can get to know people in your industry, or even just small business owners where you can kind of relate to people, and that sense of community is really, really important. There's chamber events that you can go to. But the thing that's nice about this BNI group is, you know, I pay a pretty good chunk of change to be in this group, but it has paid me 5 to 10 times over in revenue every year. And so it's worth it to me. But the bigger part of it is I joined to grow my business, but what I've been able to do for the last 8 years is help grow other people's businesses. And I know that if I have, you know, a widow, little old lady that comes in and needs a plumber, I've got just the guy that I can send her way, and I know that he's going to take care of her, or a realtor, or whatever it may be. Being able to build that community is really important. You know, I think what you guys are going to be going to, when you're going into the workforce, I think it's different than when I got into the workforce from a relationship standpoint. You know, with what I do, with what pretty much all of you do, building a relationship, whether it's with clients, with coworkers, networking, whatever it is, it's going to be really vital. And it's the relationships that you can build that are gonna really carry you forward. I don't know where the quote came from, but I've heard it before. People don't care how much you know, they want to know how much you care. And that really does resonate with, people that you're trying to get, whether they're, working with your business. I'm sure you feel the same way when you go in, whatever you're doing, whatever store you're going into, you want to know that the people that care about you and they're going to take care of it. But networking it's very important. It's a way where you can get started on that now, and even the relationships that you build now while you're here in college are going to help carry you forward. Anything else?
Maybe anything that you have from your time here at UNK or your degree or anything that you were able to bring into your world?
So I came here, got a journalism degree, so I was doing things like the radio station, I was doing TV station. I'm sure it's a lot different now. I did the newspaper for a semester. I loved all that stuff, and I think that's one of the reasons that I've really enjoyed the podcast because it kind of is an outlet for me to express my creative side, I guess, for lack of a better term. I really enjoy that part of it. With my business, I enjoy the social media side of things too. I don't post as much as I would like, but I really like being creative on social media and those types of things. I look back and I joke with my mom that I've got this journalism degree. I was going to be a sports writer is what I wanted to do for a newspaper, and here I am as an insurance agent. But it really has helped me when it comes to articulating what I want to say in an appointment. It's helped me when I'm typing up an email. I do blog posts for our agency about different insurance topics. I love that. I'd rather write a 10-page paper than take a 1-page test. I know people shake their head when they hear me say that, but it's true. And so even though I don't use my degree necessarily like I thought I would, I'm using it every day and finding new ways where I can use it too. My time at UNK here was great. Sports administration minor, tried to get a marketing minor, but it was too close to my major. Just the lessons that I learned here, I carry on. I'm proud to be a Loper, proud that I graduated from UNK. I love this college, and I just think that it's a great asset to our community. There's a lot of people that I went to school with that they may leave, but a lot of them come back here, start families, start businesses, or to work here in Kearney because it's a great place. So, yeah.
Brian, I would love for you to share with the class too a little bit about insurance, about that industry. I bet you guys, some of you probably know what it's like to have auto insurance, right? Because you have cars, but there's a lot of other different types of insurance that you're going to have to know about in your life, and just kind of talk about like those moments when you're going to need that insurance and what insurance does and how it offsets risk and stuff like that.
So does anybody in here pay for their own car insurance? Yeah? Okay. Renter's insurance? Anybody got renter's insurance? Yeah? Okay. Not a lot of fun to pay. But I will, as a selfless plug here, for anyone who is thinking about they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to start their own business, but maybe they're not quite sure what they want to do, or even if you do know what you want to do, I realize that insurance is not the sexiest industry out there. I get it. If I was sitting in that chair when I was going to school here, insurance was the farthest thing from my mind, and there was no way I was going to be an insurance agent. But crazy things happen. I guess to talk about the industry a little bit first, as an independent agent, I've got the freedom to work with a lot of different insurance companies, and I've got the freedom really to run my business how I want. Insurance itself may be boring, and it is, and it can be. I've sat across from a grieving mother and handed her a life insurance check for her daughter that passed away. I have stood in water up to my ankles for a flooded basement for a client that called me and couldn't finish her conversation because she was crying because she didn't know what she was going to do. Those are two examples of times when people have needed insurance, and I never thought I'd really be in that situation, but it's nice to be able to talk to someone, give them a hug, and comfort them as best I can. That's the relationship part of it. And if you're a relationship person, insurance is a way where you can sit down with someone, educate them, and make their experience really good. By traditional terms, I'm a terrible salesman. I am not very good at sales, and I never really have been. But I can sit down with someone and carry on a conversation, and even though they may not like paying their insurance premium, I can help explain what it will do for them and why they're paying. That part of it is great for me because I can sit and talk with those people, but when I need a break from the insurance side of it, I can go to the social media, I can start a podcast, I can come in here and talk to you guys, Insurance industry really does give you the freedom to be able to kind of live the life you want and let you do some things outside of the job that maybe you wouldn't be able to do with something else. I guess just a plug for the insurance industry, think about it at least, because it's something that may be worth it. And even if it's not as an insurance agent, I'm sure a lot of you guys are pretty familiar with social media, SEO, all that good stuff, right? There's a lot of insurance agencies that would like to have someone like you come in and run their social media, because it's getting to be more and more evident that people want to connect with the businesses that they do business with. They want to know what they're like on a personal level. They want to know how they're going to get taken care of. And so you don't have to be an insurance agent to be in the insurance industry. If you can use your talents and help build that business from the inside with social media, with blog posts, with whatever else can be done, it's a pretty valuable resource that you guys can, and that's probably not just insurance. I know that's the industry I work in. I struggle to do social media and things like that, and so I know firsthand what that's like. But there's a lot of other industries where if you can go in and if you can market and you can help that business grow, you don't necessarily have to be related to that business, but you can go in and make a difference. From the insurance industry standpoint, there's a lot of different insurances. Auto insurance, renter's insurance, home insurance. I love working with first-time home buyers. They're usually incredibly stressed out by the time that they get to me, and it's nice for me to just be able to sit down and explain things to them throughout the process that maybe nobody has yet. I love that part of it. Really nice to be able to calm fears and kind of walk through the journey. It may be the tail end of the journey, but to walk through the journey of someone buying a home, their first home, accomplishing a goal and achieving a dream that they maybe always wanted to and maybe didn't know if they could, is really, really rewarding for me. There's a lot of different types of insurance. It's 2 o'clock after lunch. I'm not going to bore you with all that stuff. But the industry itself is changing. It's exciting. It's a lot different than even when I got involved with it 8 years ago. I don't think that's unlike a lot of industries, but you have to be able to grow and change and adapt. And you'll learn that. Those of you that go out and start your own business or work for a small business, being able to adapt and adjust and change is vital. And you have to be ready for it.
Well, if you want to just grab a seat and turn around, let's kind of circle up, guys. I want to kind of like make this a little bit more conversational.
Did that kind of maybe prompt you to want to be able to be in this class?
A little bit.
A little bit. What did you guys see from your parents going through that? Was there stressful times? Was there good times? Talk about that a little bit.
I don't know. My dad just like works all night, every night.
Yeah. What's he do?
So they own like a real estate company and like tax something or other.
Okay.
Yeah. He's always working.
Yep. Does he love it?
Kind of. He's an accountant, so he likes like working with money and stuff. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool. Anyone else?
When my parents opened their business, they were like gone 24/7. They weren't at home ever. And now they've kind of like been able to step back since it started, and they're just like busy all the time, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's their business, Taylor?
They own an auto detailing business.
Okay. Anyone else want to share?
My parents own businesses in a different country,
Okay.
so they kind of have to leave for a couple months to go and see how everything's going.
Yep.
So they're kind of stressed because they also work here, but they're also trying to make sure everything's going well over there.
Yeah. It's hard enough to run a business in the same town you live in, but to go to a different country, it's tough. That's also part of being a business owner too, is, like for me, I'm still really in the middle of it as far as writing insurance policies and talking with people and all that stuff. I'm a pretty good insurance agent, I think, but I don't know if I'm an amazing business owner yet. When you're a business owner and you start a business, you want to get to the point where you can bring people in to do your job, and you can kind of take a step back and work on building the business. Or, if you're gone for a week or two, or worse, the business that you've built keeps going. And so that's part of the hard part about being a business owner is giving up control a little bit when you get to that point. But it can take a long time to get to that point.
So I guess my dad, he owned like rental properties,
Mhm.
but it wasn't more like our base of our income, it was more like a hobby for him.
Mhm.
So it wasn't really, he was never stressed out because he knew like how to do electric and stuff like that.
Yep. So you had another job besides the rentals?
Mhm.
Yep.
Questions? Does anyone have questions for Brian? Do you want to talk about the podcast or any of the episodes, or?
I had a question. I just wanted to know, like, what factors made you decide you wanted to be, like, I think you said independent agent, I think?
Yeah, good question. So, okay, so there's two types of insurance agents when it comes to home and auto insurance. You've got a captive agent, you've got an independent agent. So a captive agent is going to be someone that works for an agent that's with State Farm, Allstate, Farm Bureau, Shelter, American Family, where when you go in there, and if you buy a policy from them, it's going to be, most likely, in most cases, it's going to be an American Family auto policy or American Family or State Farm or whoever. It's whatever company you're walking into, that's what they're going to be able to write with. There are some captive companies that have a little bit of flexibility where they can work with a Progressive or something like that. But for the most part, you're going to be buying, I know especially when I was working at a State Farm agency, if you got a policy from us, it was a State Farm auto policy or State Farm home policy. As an independent agent, what I can do is, if you come in and say I want an auto insurance quote, well, I've got at least 6 companies that I'm going to run quotes with. And so, as an independent agent, I truly have the ability to work for my clients, where if I write a policy for them, and 2 or 3 years down the road, the premium goes up, it becomes unaffordable, or maybe they get a speeding ticket or 2, I have the ability to take their information and I can run quotes again with the other insurance companies we've got, and if we can offer better coverage, lower premium, whatever it may be, I can give them options. Whereas when you're with a captive agent, there's not a lot of choices always, unless you're changing coverages or increasing deductibles, those types of things. So the reason that I wanted to go independent was because I wanted to have the freedom to run my own business, but I also wanted the freedom to be able to work for the client and to give them my best option. And sometimes my best option isn't what's best for them, and that's okay. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow for me, but you have to do what's in the best interest of the client always, and it'll come back, and that's just what needs to be done. So that's kind of the reason that I chose to be an independent agent, because it just gives me more freedom to be able to help clients.
Okay, other questions?
So when you started the podcast, did it go as smoothly as you planned, or were there skills that you had to acquire? Was it difficult? How did it go?
For me, it was easy. Now, part of it being easy was the first 3 interviews I did are people that are in my B&I group. And so I knew their story going in a little bit more than what other people do. And I meet with them on a weekly basis. And so I knew them on a personal level and knew about their business. And so it really was about having a conversation just back and forth. So for me, I kind of knew how I wanted it to go, and I'm able to think on the fly a little bit if I want to go off script. But up to this point, it's been really smooth. I've done some videos on Facebook just promoting, like small 2-minute clips or whatever. Nothing fancy. The podcast is really raw, and even the video that I upload to YouTube, all that stuff is pretty raw with just a little graphics from iMovie, no big deal. But for me, it's been really easy, and I've loved it. I've had a blast. It's really been a good outlet for me. And, you know, trying to build my personal brand a little bit. And, but at the same time, you know, if I get the ability to help other small business owners, that's really cool too. So.
Good questions.
I had another question.
Yeah.
So what steps did you have to take to start your podcast? Like, did you buy equipment or things like that? Like, what did you do?
So,
Caroline's asking this because she got really creative. They had to do a podcast in this class, and she got
Yeah.
really creative with it, so.
okay.
Future podcaster, right?
That's a great question, because that was, I wanted to do this for a while and I just didn't know where to start. And so this agent that I've been working with, more than anything, he gave me direction and gave me the encouragement that I needed to do it. So what I did is, and you can do it a lot of different ways. There's free services you can use, like Anchor is one of those. If you do that, from what I understand though, Anchor owns, you know, your podcasts. So what I did is I used Libsyn, Libsyn. I pay $15 a month, and I think I can upload, and it's based on the amount of data that you upload. I think mine's like 250 megabytes, gigs, I guess it'd be gigs. So anyway, I pay $15 a month, but then it gives me, like, it will send everything out to the different platforms and help me get my RSS feed and get everything done there. Equipment, I went on Amazon and I bought a Zoom H6. And the package that I got on Amazon, I think it was, I got rechargeable batteries, I got a stand to put the Zoom on, headphones, a couple other things. It was like about $360, I think. That's one thing though, looking back on it, that's one thing I would do different. I have a podcast for small business owners. I should have bought my equipment local, and I will going forward. I look back on it, and that is a mistake that I did make, that I won't make again. But part of it for me was just getting started. And once I paid for that equipment, it was like, okay, now it's go time. I've got to make this happen. I've got to do it. And so part of it for me was getting started. But anything that I buy going forward for the podcast from an equipment standpoint, and really anything else for it, will be done local. So that is one thing that I would change and would do differently. So, but really other than that, the Zoom comes with, and I brought it if you want to take a look at it. It's got microphones that you can set on there. It comes with a wind guard, I can't think of the name of it, but it comes with pretty much everything that you need. And then you just upload it to Libsyn, type out what you want, and you hit publish, and it's out there. So
Do you do editing with it?
I don't.
You know?
I think there's editing software that you can get. I haven't got to that point yet. You know, there will come a point where maybe I get some sponsors, and so I do some sponsors before the actual interview. But right now it's really raw. I just upload the audio. As long as the audio sounds good, I listen to it first. If it sounds good, then I just go with it. So as far as the editing, I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to do more research. I don't know what's there, but I just upload it. So I also record the podcast with my phone, and so I can do clips on Facebook, and then I upload the whole interview to YouTube as well, which is just one more way that people can listen to it, or however they want to watch it, because that's just a whole different element. So. But.
Okay, other questions for Brian? I know you guys wrote questions down.
Yeah.
I'm actually familiar with BNI, so I think it's interesting meeting someone involved with that. So you said that you pay a pretty buck to be part of it.
Mhm.
How much do you pay to be involved?
I think I just paid the membership just went up a little bit. I think it was roughly about $600 for the year to be a member. I know that when you first sign up, I think they have kind of a new member, kind of a registration type. So it's a little bit more when you first sign up. And then we also have local dues. So our local chapter, we pay $75 a year. And before, since we're a morning group, we wouldn't do breakfast, but we would have coffee there every morning. We'd rent a room, things like that. So, so $600 is a lot of money, especially I started this, or I joined BNI when I was 4 months into being a brand new agent on the independent side. So that was a pretty hefty expense considering there was no money coming in. But from a marketing standpoint, that's the best decision that I've made. Because I make, literally, it pays for itself over and over every year. So, and where you're the only, if you don't join different chamber groups or other groups that you may be a part of, there may be 2 or 3 other people in your industry, and so you're having to fight for leads there. BNI's nice because I'm the only one in my industry in there, so that's nice. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.